Hey guys, welcome to the 14th episode, I believe, of the Project Uproar podcast. Ryan, you want to introduce our guest?
Yes, today we have a guest to speak to us about movies and specifically top movies to watch before you die related to self and personal development. So we have Giacomo here. Giacomo, nice.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yes,
It's
no
a
problem.
real pleasure to be on the pod.
Giacomo is a movie expert.
Yeah, it's my only real talent is having enough time to stare at a screen.
And I believe you have your own online blog.
I did, yes, and then again, it was taking time away from watching movies, so I had to.
Wow,
you had to put
you
it
are
down.
committed.
Yeah.
What about a job? Does that take away from watching movies?
Well, you got to be more discreet, I guess, but it does a little bit.
I guess it depends what you do. You don't want to admit too much right now, right?
Well, when I was a server, you worked like 5-6 hours a day, so I had a lot of free time, and when I was really getting into it, I was watching 2 movies a day.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even that bad. Yeah.
When you're watching 14 movies a week, right? It's more.
It adds up for sure.
It does add up, and it's a lot of time wasted. But
again, it depends. Like especially for anime, for example, since
Yes.
me and my brother do anime, we don't consider it that wasted time because not only do we enjoy it, but it can end up. I guess we can transmute it into something like a video or wealth. So
yeah, I never took it as wasted. That's
yeah.
I always look at the positives of it, right? It's art, and it's taking time to experience almost probably the newest form of like a huge media art, because movies have been around for like 100 years, right? You think of storytelling and books and art and paintings and the theater. It's all been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, of thousands for storytelling, right? But movies, we're about 100 years in. So it's kind of exciting because we really see new developments every year, pushing the technology, pushing storytelling. Even with The Lion King that just came out, right? We have a full CGI rendered film that is looked at as live action. Whether the movie's good or not, I don't know. I haven't seen it, but it's we're always progressing with this pretty new medium. So I say we as I don't have any stake into it, but it's exciting.
No, for sure. As a humanity,
yes,
we're approaching like cool things. And you're absolutely right. Like even looking at the advancements in storytelling in like a book, it's not always as obvious, right? Like you definitely have some formal differences, but you could see a book written today similarly in a form that was written like 100 years ago.
Right.
But compare like a movie from 100 years ago to like now, like it's
completely different.
Yeah, exactly.
Completely different.
And yeah, because people have been reading books, they've been studying literature for a longer period of time. Movies were always, even when they came out, were viewed as like pop culture, right? Not worth much like anime, not worth like examining and studying. So only recently people have been respecting it and getting into actually the study of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
Speaking of like movies that maybe aren't contemporary right now, I see you're wearing a Jaws shirt.
Yes.
Can you tell me, and like this is a shirt that obviously like is very well worn, like you see like celebrities wearing the Jaws shirt. Obviously the lead singer of the Tragically Hip famously wore the Jaws shirt.
Yes.
So why do you think people have connected so much with Jaws? Why is it the timeless classic?
I think Jaws has got to be one of the top 3 movies that changed cinema forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's widely known as the first blockbuster. It's one of those movies that people would line up to go see, and they would tell their friends to go see, go tell their parents to go see. At work, when I wore this shirt, there was 2 ladies, I think they were in their 50s or 60s, so obviously our parents' age, and they were still talking like they saw it yesterday and what it meant to them and how afraid they were of the film. Young Steven Spielberg, it's his first theatrical film. He did a TV movie before, which is actually quite good for a TV movie. And you're seeing like the master filmmaker back in the day when he had all the pressure to produce a movie that was way over budget, was way over schedule time, and it scared the living shit out of people. It really did. And what it did for storytelling in horror movies is still kind of the blueprint today of what to do, because you really don't see the shark a lot, which is almost more scary than seeing the shark. And famously, it didn't work. That's why you don't see the shark a lot, because the mechanical shark, again, it was mid-70s, right? And they were just going with what technology they had. Even the scariest movies today are it's almost the unknown is what's afraid. So it just broke boundaries for horror films. It's so rewatchable. Even now when you watch it, especially with the big screens now and high def TVs, it's almost made it more relevant than ever, because you could really see what they did back then. Because in the 70s, you couldn't really appreciate those shots on the water. You couldn't really appreciate those camera moves. Obviously, the famous shot of Roy Schneider on the beach, and then the pull and zoom as he falls away, which is a classic Hitchcock shot. And it's timeless. It's always scary. It's well directed, and it's Jaws. It's nice. Perfect.
I need to watch that. That is one I have not watched.
It's cliche to say, but it's a perfect movie. You can't change anything about it.
Wow, that's
whether you find it scary or not, because it's 2019,
yeah.
Everyone's cynical.
Exactly, desensitized.
Yes,
right?
nothing. Yeah, but that's what not seeing the shark makes it scary, because you don't see like this puppet and like, oh, it's obviously a puppet. You actually don't really see the shark that much, and it's the unknown that is what's frightening. And it's really well acted. It's really well written script. Like, there's a lot more to it besides the shark. So it's just, if not the greatest movie of the 70s, it's up there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I'm just curious, because you mentioned Hitchcock. Why do you feel Hitchcock is lifted in the specific place that he is in terms of film culture? Like, everyone talks about Hitchcock. When you read books, right, philosophers talk about Hitchcock, writers talk about Hitchcock. Why is he so elevated?
Well, he broke boundaries, which, again, is probably going to be a common theme, is people breaking boundaries.
For sure.
Psycho was the first movie to ever have a toilet in it, right? It showed partial nudity, which it's a 10-second scene of the, I don't want to spoil anything, but the famous stabbing scene in the shower. And his way of storytelling. So my favorite film by Hitchcock is Rear Window, and the whole movie takes place pretty much in one room, and it's a man who can't move because he has a cast on his leg, and he's just sitting in his apartment looking outside and witnessing what he thinks is a crime. And that's the whole movie. There's two sets. There's just his room and the outside. And what Hitchcock is able to do by making that cinematic is still to this day unbelievable. Because especially now with all the CGI and special effects and quick cuts, and we want everything to be in your face, what he could do with two sets is beyond impressive, and people today would dream of being able to use so little and make it so great. And the stories were great, and they were scary, and they're tense, and he's a master. Like, he's a Mount Rushmore. That's the top four to this day. Like, Vertigo is incredible. Like, Psycho's still scary. You know, it's
which one's the one where they switch places? Crisscross. Yeah. You know, when they're like, oh, I'll kill someone for you, you kill someone for me.
Oh, that's not North by Northwest.
Yeah, well, that one was good too.
Yeah, that one was good too.
I watched a lot of Hitchcock,
Yeah. I watch Rear Window and Psycho and Vertigo like every year, so those ones I really know. But he made, I think, 40 or 50 films. Like, he made quite a lot, and they're still scary.
And that's a theme you brought up, like storytelling, right?
Yes.
No matter what the quality you can bring to film is, right now it's like bigger than ever, right? With the CGI Lion King and stuff they can do. But even before, like you said, storytelling, if it's good, the movie will be timeless.
Yes.
And I totally agree with you that not showing stuff can be very scary. Like, you know, when people, I think it's like a trope now where people close the door so you don't see how they torture someone, right? It's almost like, what are they doing in there? It's worse than overly gory stuff that you see people doing.
I couldn't agree more.
I always remember watching Pulp Fiction when you recommended it, and there's that one scene where I'm sorry, who's the boss again? What's his name?
The boss.
Pulp Fiction.
I
forget his name.
Yeah, Uma Thurman's husband, Marcellus Wallace.
Yes. And when he goes, I'm going to go medieval on your ass.
I'm going medieval.
And you're like, what is that going to be, right? It's just that it takes you, it's almost kind of like fiction in the sense where, like, you're left with a gap.
Yes.
And I think that's the beauty of some of these
And
films.
who writes that? Who comes up with that line? I'm going to go medieval.
I know.
And, like, instantly you know what it means. You know, like, and yet it's Tarantino. It's his magic, right? It's his dialogue. There's nothing like it.
Yeah. So speaking of Tarantino, I'm wondering, because myself, I would consider I'm not well versed in movies, and I'm still trying to break into becoming more well versed in movies. So for the person who doesn't know much about movies, much about directors. Can you give kind of like an easy kind of breakdown on some major directors and what sort of tropes that they each kind of use within their films?
Yeah, like Tarantino is known as the dialogue master, right? His movies he calls poetry. That he doesn't even write his scripts on a computer. He literally writes them down by hand, famously saying, "I can't write poetry on a screen."
Nice.
So his movies, two guys in a room talking for 20 minutes, it's riveting. Mm-hmm. You've seen Pulp Fiction, Royale with Cheese, two guys in a car talking about what they call Burger King in Europe. Sounds boring, but the way he says it, it has such a flair to it. He's my favorite director going today just because everything he does is so unique, and I want a 5-hour Tarantino movie because you can't get enough of his dialogue.
Do you have some other quotes that you really
by,
like from him?
By him personally?
Yeah.
It's hard because he's quite like a pompous guy. Like
it doesn't even have to be him, but from his characters or stuff you like, you know.
Oh, there's so many. There's a great one in Kill Bill which I love, and I wish I had in front of me. But he's talking about Superman and why the outfit of Superman is actually his own clothes, and the real disguise is him putting on Clark Kent's outfit.
Yeah, I remember
because
that.
he's saying Superman's clothes are made out of the.
No,
that
was so good.
How good is that? Like the Superman's outfit is what his mom wrapped him in. It's those clothes, right? And he really sees what we wear as humans as the disguise and what he sheds. Yeah, it's just little stuff like that that's timeless.
Exactly.
And all his movies are great. Inglourious Basterds, Django, like Jackie Brown, Reservoir Dogs. They're all unique. I could gush about him forever. But there's tons of other great directors going. You have David Fincher, who's just like the technical master. Even if you don't really love his movies, they're so technically incredible that you're just kind of in awe. The craft of his films are so almost above anything else. And he's known for taking hundreds of takes to get his scene right. The scene in Social Network, the very first one with Jesse Eisenberg. And who is it? It's Rooney Mara. I think it took 100 takes to do that, and he will do it until it's perfect. Obviously, you've got Scorsese, who is still to this day making great movies. He probably had Taxi Driver in the 70s, might be the best movie of the decade, Raging Bull of the 80s, Goodfellas of the 90s. Like every decade, he just reinvents himself. Wolf of Wall Street was great, and you have a 70-something-year-old man who's made the most like vibrant, colorful, fun movie maybe of his career in the 70s, which is it's pretty remarkable that he hasn't burnt out, especially if you think about his contemporaries. And I think they went by the movie brats, so you had him, Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, Brian De Palma. Those guys in the 70s were it for Hollywood. You had obviously The Godfather and Apocalypse Now and Star Wars with George Lucas and Spielberg doing all his stuff. And the only guy left that's still making relevant films is Scorsese, which is pretty incredible. As great as Coppola was for making Apocalypse Now and Godfathers, he hasn't made anything relevant in years that people like. So yeah, Scorsese is still going, and most people call him the greatest of all time because he's had a 50-year career of perfect movies almost, right? There's very few that... I didn't really love Gangs of New York, but it was an okay movie, and that's probably his worst movie he's made in a long time.
Did you like Hugo?
I did. I liked him saying, you know what, I'm going to try to make a children's movie. Because all his movies are anything but. And he tried to make a children's movie, and it was original, it was inventive, it was great 3D. I saw Avatar in 3D, which obviously was amazing. That was the next movie I saw in 3D. And I thought, wow, this is going to be here to stay. 3D is great. And now I could give two shits about it. I hate seeing 3D movies. I don't
remember last time I saw 3D.
Yeah, because they dim the picture. I got to wear these glasses.
Yeah.
But Hugo was great in 3D, and yeah, of course I saw it. I loved it.
Cool. So yeah, I'm noticing the pattern, like you said, convention breaking. And would you say that a lot of what makes a lot of these directors great is just the courage to do stuff that could fail, right? To push their comfort zone?
Yeah, I think that's almost with any art, right? People love the risk takers and those who will try something. Even if they fail, you kind of admire trying.
Yeah.
Even if you think of like Lord of the Rings, like it made in a small studio in New Zealand.
I know you're obsessed with Lord of the Rings.
Well, I love the story, right? I love the story first and foremost, and they're my favorite films, and I don't know what's close. They're just.
I have to watch it. We have to do like all like one night where we just watch all of the Lord of the Rings.
But if you talk about a risk, like they're going to be shot in New Zealand, which is not known for making movies. We're going to be there for 2 years. We're going to make them from back to back to back, no breaks in between. From a filmmaker who just made small slasher horror films, and then he made Lord of the Rings. So like it's those risks that you find pay off, and now he's going to make a Beatles documentary. So Peter Jackson can do whatever he wants now because of Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
19 Oscars. You got to watch them. You got to watch them.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I like that how watching those movies, the idea of looking at them before they made it, and while they were still trying to get their shot at like, you know, making that big picture, even making money to survive and stuff like that. I love the story of kind of Sylvester Stallone, how he wrote the Rocky script in like his apartment, and then like said he has to play the actor, and really made his whole career himself because people weren't giving him acting jobs. Like that's the, I think, kind of the perfect embodiment what we want to even represent or like get people to think about on this channel, which is just like, you know, you can take stuff into your own hands and do the impossible and like figure out a way to figure it out.
Yeah, you can do it. Like like it's been done. People are, if you want to do something bad enough, you know, sure you have to have some sort of break here and there, but there's time and time again you hear about Sylvester Stallone being homeless, having to sell his dog.
I know.
You know, and then buying him back.
I mean, those rock bottom moments, yeah, like, you know, who knows what the future could come, but I remember one time where I had to cancel like a title membership, you know, that's like $9.99.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just can't afford it right now. And like that was like a low time for me, and I was like, ugh. But like, you know, there may be more low times, but yeah, the fact that I could go from that to, you know, figuring out this YouTube stuff pretty well at this point, like, has been a crazy experience.
Right.
And now that we're on the topic of kind of the idea of self-development, facing obstacles, persevering, I'm curious, obviously this podcast is about self-development. If you wanted to recommend, I don't want to give a specific number, but let's just say a few movies that could really, after watching them, like motivate you to make change in your life or motivate you to, you know, feel differently about yourself. What are a few movies that have influenced you in that particular way?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the one that I always think about is Groundhog Day. Have you guys seen Groundhog Day? It's gonna sound really stupid, but it's about a weather.
Wait, was that
It's Bill Murray, directed by Harold Ramis, and it's about a weatherman who keeps reliving the same day over again.
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds really silly, but for personal development, what if you could relive the same day over again? What would you change? What could you learn and then try to be better if you had another shot at something? That's really what it's about. He's a conceited guy, and he learns from his reactions from people about how he is, and he tries to be better, which I find interesting because when you think of personal development anyway, it's usually a journey. Someone starts from point A, and over time he learns something and changes. That's usually what movies are and what storytelling is. Over time, how does someone change? But what if you take time away and you just repeat it over and over again? So Groundhog Day, it's hilarious, but there's actually kind of a pretty deep meaning to it. You know, we always ask ourselves if we could redo something, and in the movie, that's what the whole thing's about.
Mm-hmm. Can he move on after that, or is it just no matter what, the same day kind of thing? I'm just thinking, like, if he's like, okay, got this day right, can he move on?
He doesn't have a choice, so like he tries killing himself multiple times.
And then he just comes back.
And it just keeps coming back. Wow. And it's the Sonny and Cher song as his alarm. Babe, I got that song, I got you, babe.
And he can't change it ever now.
No, he can never change his alarm, and it's hilarious. And he tries to pick up girls, and whatever doesn't work, he tries it again the next day.
What do you think would be like some stuff he learns about life through that way?
I don't want to spoil the movie.
I
don't want to spoil, but
even lessons, but
it's kind of simple in the way that like he's not a nice man. You know, he's very arrogant. He thinks that the world owes him something, and that's really the big change. It's called Groundhog Day because he's reporting if the groundhog sees a shadow or not. And it's kind of a silly job that he's reporting on. I know he reflects on that, and it's really interesting.
And I like what I'm hearing about like the reflecting, and
yes.
It seems like his life up to this point was just autopilot, go,
yes.
go. And then this is almost like what any of us can do if we just like pause to reflect on our life rather than just
for sure
kind of living mindlessly, going to the next thing, keeping busy for the sake of keeping busy. Interesting.
So it's a comedy by Harold Ramis, who did Ghostbusters, and probably not one you'd expect for me to say, but that's up there. Obviously, I would say Dead Poet Society, because you have Robin Williams getting kids to break out of the mold, question judgment, question themselves, question authority, and you see how that changes the kids in school and how much they love him for it and seize the day. You know, that movie, every time I see it, it has, you know, it affects you. There's something about it that even if you don't change by watching it, it makes you think. And the kids in the film, they change by the end of it because of him and the actions of one man. And you know, when you read that, like you read a book and it changes your life, they met this one guy and he was able to change theirs. And it's kind of like that point in their life where someone came along at the right time.
Yeah, fork in the road.
The fork in the road, right? And obviously Robin Williams is iconic. It's just one of those movies where it's sweet. There's such a kindness in that movie because he wants what's best for the kids and how much they loved him for it. And as a personal development movie, it's got to be up top there. Good Will Hunting, obviously, we're going with Robin Williams theme, but
yeah, no, Good Will Hunting is amazing. I rewatched it like the other week.
It's great. It's perfect, and it's one of those lightning in a bottle moments with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon struggling to do the Hollywood dream, and they had this script. And a fun fact that the original script was, so the whole Good Will Hunting was apparently supposed to be the first half of the movie, and the second half was supposed to be Will and Chucky being chased by the FBI.
What?
So when you get like Gus Van Sant to direct it and people to read the script over and over again, obviously you change that a little bit.
Oh man, I'm glad that didn't happen.
But that's obviously almost like the personal development movie, because again, you have Rob Williams just coming in there saving the day and changing someone's view on life. And
yeah, and I really like kind of like the values that are questioned, and that like is conventional success like worth it for everyone, or is there like stuff we want to do otherwise?
Well, I know Ryan being, you know, teacher, right? And then
there's that great line.
I want to hear. Can you say the line in a Boston accent? I want to hear you say it.
No, and I don't even remember the exact line, but yeah, it's there are a couple lines there that really hit home. And even the one thing that it didn't necessarily affect me the way it would have a few years ago when I was in university, but when Will is at the bar and he runs into that guy who's flaunting his intellect,
so good.
And he ends up outsmarting him, and it's just like, it's beautiful. It's just like, just going to show how so often in life, like we think even when we're in like academia or university, that we are like, you know, questioning the world, and we are you know, these badasses, you know, and really in a way we're just following another trend.
I remember the line in the film that spoke to you.
You want to say it?
Not in a Boston accent, but it's when Will's saying he doesn't want to spend the rest of his life explaining things to people because they want him to teach.
Yeah,
right.
Math. Yeah.
And he's obviously that's not what teaching is, just explaining things to people, but that's how he saw it at that point in time.
Yeah, for sure.
No, yeah, and everyone needs to kind of decide for themselves what they want out of life. And yeah, you know, who's to say all those writers kind of challenge that template, like the Beat generation, where they kind of just worked these odd jobs that didn't have status symbols or anything.
Well, that's
because they got to write, they got to do stuff they like and have adventures.
That's amazing you said that, because that's my favorite scene in the movie when Chucky is explaining to Will, Ben Affleck's Chucky, about, if I see you working this job in 5 years, you know, I'll fucking kill you. That's
there we go, we got her.
But and that's seizing the day. That's like, if you're doing the same mundane job, which is nothing wrong with that mundane job, but if you have something inside you that can get you from point A to point B and fulfill something that this job or this state in your life will give you, you have to seize it. You have to take those and I seized the opportunity of doing a Boston accent, which is horrible, but if I didn't do it.
And I remember when
good.
we watched it together, how you mentioned the part that you said, I think it almost makes you cry every time when he goes to Will's house at the end and he's not there.
Yeah.
Just what that represents.
Every time, because he learned, like, Robin Williams just wanted the best for this kid, and this kid took the best of Robin Williams' character. I forget his name in the movie. I wish I remembered it.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
But just the look on their faces, like Ben Affleck goes to pick him up, and he knows he's gone. He doesn't have to say anything. He's so happy for him. We love bromances.
That's for sure. That's for sure. No, I agree, and that movie definitely spoke to me, and that's also what we kind of try to question, like the idea of, people thinking that these certain lifestyles, like a good pay, a safe job, status jobs kind of thing, are the only way to go, when clearly that movie shows there can be stuff that's more important to you than those kinds of jobs, right? It's not all about the money. Sometimes it's about going on adventures, Sometimes
going to see about a girl. The end of the movie just has them driving away.
Exactly.
Right, because that's what meant the most to him at the time, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's so good.
And now that we've talked a bit about self-development movies, I'm wondering what movies right now, like, have you seen recently? They don't necessarily have to be new movies, but what movies
like
have
last
you
5-10 years or something
recently? Not even that. Like, even, I mean, you're obviously an avid movie watcher. How often, by the way, do you think you watch movies now? Like,
it's a lot less than it used to be. Every couple days I like to pop something in for sure, even if I'm rewatching something.
Yeah.
Right.
So what have been some recent films that you've come across that you've enjoyed that you would recommend?
I really liked If Beale Street Could Talk. It's filmed by Barry Jenkins, who won the Oscar for Moonlight, which was his first movie. Well, not his first movie, but his first like mainstream commercial movie. And the second one was Beale Street Could Talk, and I really enjoyed that movie. It's just a simple little story about a young black couple in love, and the gentleman in the movie, I don't want to spoil the movie, but circumstances come where he can't be with his wife, and they're fighting the justice system. And Barry Jenkins, I think, is one of those directors to watch because he has such like a love for film, and his movies are beautiful, and he's such a respect for actors that he'll take time to show his actors walking down the street and just smiling. Like when people want quick cuts, he's the opposite, right? He lets his actors work, and anything Barry Jenkins does, I'm so excited for. Same with Damien Chazelle, who I made you see Whiplash, and I think you liked it.
That was a great movie.
Did
you end up seeing that?
No.
So good. That's gotta be last decade. Probably my favorite movie is Whiplash.
And as musicians, like, it's so much more
Giacomo,
powerful.
are you a musician too?
Yes. I've been playing guitar for a long time, and
Okay.
I'm not an accomplished pianist like Ryan is, but
I
but so going to Damien Chazelle, the second movie was La La Land, which is another great personal development movie. It's a throwback to a musical, and it's about Ryan Gosling plays a jazz musician, and Emma Stone plays a struggling actress, and they both meet up in L.A., and they're both in that crossroad in their life where do I pursue this, and they both kind of push each other to pursue it. And it's how it's the personal development movie, I think, in the last few years, because they're learning from someone else who has the same insecurities that they have, because they both don't want to continue their career paths because they're worried, and they're both reluctant, and yet they're pushing each other to do it. And the musical aspect's fun. It's a great movie, great ending, and I don't want to spoil it, but if you haven't seen La La Land, which I'm sure a lot of people have, maybe you guys didn't want to pop in and see a musical, but it's really great personal development. It's probably one of my favorite movies the last few years.
And I like that idea of learning about yourself through, like, the shortcomings of other people.
Or even their journeys, or even their courage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you have Ryan Gosling as a jazz artist who loves jazz and hates the fact that people associate jazz with elevator music, right? And he's trying to convince Emma Stone why it's so great. And it is great. It's awesome,
for sure.
right? And his conviction for it and his passion for music is inspiring, right? Because that's why we started playing music, just because we loved it. And if someone were to tell us, the music you like sucks, you would take it personally. So that part I always connected with it, because any movie about music is, if it's done well, I really enjoy that.
And a lot of these experiences, like with art, we talked about like different forms of art, but movies too. Like exactly, they give us those examples of people who went out and did it. They give us those different templates for life. And for example, if you, let's say, grow up in an environment where everyone's telling you, you know, you need to get a good paying job, you need to do something you don't like to do, but that's the way it is because, you know, you need to be safe, you need to think about your family, you need to think about all this stuff. You feel all this peer pressure, you don't know there's another way to live. And these movies, a lot of the self-development movies that you mentioned seem to kind of show this alternative path and people going through it. And then not only does it pop that idea in your head that that's possible if you resonate with that more, but also you have examples of people who did, even if they're fictional, courageously like took the chance to do it anyways, even if they weren't sure they'd succeed. So I think like that's, to me, with movies and like everything, like that's to me the real strength of fiction.
Yeah, there's another one I want to quickly mention. Going off that point, we're talking about individuals taking a chance. There's some times where they don't have that choice and they have to do it. There's a great little movie called The Descendants, directed by Alexander Payne. I think won the Oscar for Best Script. Stars George Clooney, father of 2 young daughters, and the mom, his wife, is in a coma, and it's him trying to deal with being the only father and his family trying to tell him how to live his life and what they should do with the family's land trust they have, that he should sell it. He might find out that the wife in the coma had an affair, right? So now he's mad at her. She can't respond.
Yeah, that's messed up.
You know what I mean? So that's a movie where there's tons of personal development by which he didn't ask for.
No, for sure.
You know, so I like that aspect too, where people have to kind of take the reins by the situation in hand and kind of roll with the punches. So yeah, The Descendants is great little movie. And
no, yeah, that's an interesting topic. Like I know someone like Jordan Peterson, who is prominent now. He's really famous for saying, like, if you literally have nothing going for you, or you can't find any optimistic thing to hold on to that'll give you meaning, sometimes like just persevering through your suffering, like in that case, is meaning, like it provides meaningful, right? It's just the idea I could get up and I could go through the suffering and maybe something will change, but just the idea of perseverance is meaning itself. So that's an interesting...
I always said that reluctantly to my mom, is that even if I don't use my university degree, so proud of it.
Exactly.
You know, I went through, you know, a hard time to get it, as everyone does. And even if it doesn't give me anything, which it has, but even if it didn't, just knowing that I persevered through a struggle like that, it means so much. And to have that, like, with the diploma, physical representation of it, it's little stuff like that, exactly what you mentioned. It's just sometimes you need to also look back on you persevering and feel proud, because it's okay to feel a little bit of pride, right?
And it could motivate you when you encounter new struggles in life that are different from that.
You made it through that, so you can make it through this new challenge.
Yeah, and reflecting, like, some things aren't as bad when you put them in perspective.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the fact that you brought that up, because that's something we've talked about even with Stoics, like the idea of, you know, having to struggle sometimes self-imposed struggle, but only so you're prepared when it's like not self-imposed struggle. And that's literally, like, that also helped me just watching anime or movies where people are going through difficult times when I was like going through difficult times, right? It's like, you know, I guess, you know, also you're not the only one going through it. And you also know that it could be a lot worse, and it makes you grateful for the stuff like you do have going on in your life. For example, like when I was stressed out for like school or something, like you said, that can be very challenging. There were situations where I watched an anime where he kind of gets kidnapped and he has to kind of pay off all his debts in like this underground gambling situation where they have to do crazy stuff. So it's just this crazy situation where like this guy's totally rock bottom, and yet like I could watch it and be like, okay, you know, put stuff in perspective while enjoying like the well-made anime as well. So that's been a go-to for me, a kind of therapy when I was dealing with difficult stuff.
Well, that's the beauty of movies. Like, we look for, like, they're answers to some of our questions too, right? It's almost like they're cathartic in a way.
Definitely.
You know, and if you're in like a bad mood and you have a movie that makes you feel good, right? You put it on and you, at least for me, you see the story unfold, see how the characters deal with their situations, and somehow through that you find peace in yourself in a way.
I agree.
Are you surprised we've gone this far without talking about Spirited Away, or?
No, not at all. Like I didn't even mention Studio Ghibli, but I would be interested if you know any anime movies like Spirited Away, if you want to share your thoughts on it and stuff like that. I like Princess Mononoke more personally, but I'm interested in what you have to say about any Studio Ghibli. Or
what I just like that they're still hand drawn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's most animation is all computer now, so I just think there's so much more to like animation than just CG right now, and to put in like, you know, Spirited Away or Howl's Moving Castle or
and Miyazaki is like just you talked about directors and how specific they can be to redo it, and he's
the GOAT.
Crazy, he's with how much work he'll put into a project, not release until it's perfect. Like, he's to me the embodiment of that.
Yeah, there's such like a, not gonna say a polish, but there's such a level of like craft to every shot.
Yeah.
You know, it's. I know people who've watched like Spirited Away. Oh, that's, you know, most people have seen, and don't have a clue what they're watching, but they're glued to it. There's something about those movies that draw you in, and the craft is so. It's so unique and so perfect, and not one frame is wasted. That anything Studio Ghibli does is. It like just has that polish, right? Like they're not going to put out like I don't know, an Ice Age 4, like, you know what I mean?
No, they didn't put out, like, I don't know if they put out any sequels. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true, and it's you know how we talked about kind of some people view movies and anime as kind of low art, low brow, you know, like not worth kind of getting your time to. Well, if anyone like deserves, which I think a lot of most movies, I think, you know, deserve to be called art in one form or another. You know, art can be better and worse.
Absolutely.
But with Miyazaki, like, you can't say that's not art. Like, the amount of time that goes into each shot, the amount of time that goes into like creating it.
Can I have like 30 seconds to talk about animated movies?
Definitely.
If you don't mind.
You can have a million.
This is why I find people like our parents' age, not that they all do, but there's a lot of people that just won't watch animated movies. You know, they'll see it like, oh, I don't. And what it is, I think I figured it out, is that they know it's not real, which sounds really silly. But when someone watches a movie, live action movie with actors in it, right, they can pretend, or there's some sort of disconnect where they don't see an actor or lighting, or, you know, they just see a scene with two people, right? But when they watch Up, you know, which the cartoon humans in it, they know it's not real, so they can't emotionally get connected to it. I think that is where the disconnect happens. My mom can't watch it. She can't watch it. Like, it's almost like she said, oh, I can't be bothered. It's because she can't disconnect herself from, this isn't a movie, right?
There's almost a prejudice there that, like, I'm not going to gain anything meaningful, or, like you said, like, they're not humans, they're something else. Like, almost associating it with kid stuff.
Why do you think we are less impacted by that?
That's a good point. It's a good question. I think being in our 20s, we've seen the change from hand-drawn movies to now the 3D, the CG animated movies. So we've kind of been there with like the glory days of this new animation. I guess the glory days you're thinking of like the Walt Disneys in the 30s when they started with Snow White. But it's hard because like I grew up watching Toy Story, for example, right? And when I got a little bit older, I'm still going to watch it because it was such a big part of my life as a kid. And being someone like me who knows, of course I don't know, but I have an idea of the craft behind it, and I don't see it as a cartoon. I see it as a movie with actors and lighting and directing and great stories. And they're not... The thing I love about Pixar is they make adult movies disguise as children's movies. Right? You look at The Incredibles, it's about a father who's struggling with his new career path and where he fits into his family. Where does he fit in the world? You know, he was once a superhero, now he's got to sell insurance. What does his kids think of him? What does his wife think about him? That's not a kid's movie. That's not a kid's movie at all.
That's interesting.
You look
I
at
never thought of that.
Finding Nemo. It's about a father who lost his wife, and he has one son left. He could have had, there was tons of, you remember, there's tons of eggs. Only one survived. It's the last thing he has of his wife, and he thinks he's gone, and he thinks that he let down his wife because he lost the only thing he has left of her. It's not a kid's movie. That's not a kid's movie at all. But you polish it as Fish. You put Dory in it, right, with Ellen DeGeneres. Now kids can watch it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And the thing is, even when it is like kids can enjoy it, no need to assume it's only for kids, right?
It's not.
Which is the case.
It's not.
When
Little Bo Peep bends over and Buzz Lightyear looks at her and his wings pop up, that's not a kid's joke.
No, exactly. And I appreciate that kind of stuff when they add it in, because clearly, and I think part of it, maybe what you're saying, that adults of a certain age haven't grown up to kind of get used to watching cartoons, or when they were, let's say, back in the day, the cartoons were specifically the kids' time on TV. So there were like a few cartoons, and that was associated with kids. So maybe that's why also they associate with like childish stuff. But for me, I know I can totally suspend my disbelief even if I'm watching like animated stuff. Yeah,
because you're suspending your disbelief for live action. It just, like Tom Cruise is not actually jumping out of a plane.
For sure. And
but for some reason it's easier for individuals to connect with that and see it as a story.
Yeah, and I think that like partially will definitely be due to that bias of just considering it for kids, not considering it serious, right? So, but that's definitely interesting, and I agree 100% that you have all these, if you just look a little below the surface, you have all these adult themes that really kids don't even understand how to relate to sometimes, like a dad losing his wife, having one child left. Like you brought all this stuff. I watched Nemo a long time ago, and all this stuff you're referencing, I don't remember noticing it at all. You know what I mean? So the fact that like it was there shows how good the story is and how much there is for people if they're coming with their kids or if they just want to watch it as adults. There's a lot going on for them.
Did you guys see Inside Out?
No.
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes.
The overarching theme that they want you to take away from that movie is it's okay to be sad, and
because they try to balance everything and make the person harmonious.
What she needed was to be sad and to let her emotions out, right? Feel your suffering, feel your struggle. Like
that's good, man.
You can't.
That's good.
Because that's what they have emotions personified as characters, right? So when sadness is gone, joy has to find her, and the reason why she has to find sadness is because you need sadness in your life, to grow from it.
And to appreciate, know what joy is.
And a 5-year-old, they're just going to see the colors, they're going to see all the crazy animation, right?
That's really good, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just another layer to see movies.
Yeah, and speaking of that, like I know there's this one anime and manga that I really like, Honey and Clover, and a kind of a point to that is like it's okay to not have everything figured out. Like, it's with university students, and the guy looks at people around him, super talented in his university, and he doesn't know what he's gonna do. And at a certain point, he just realizes it's okay not knowing exactly where you're going, and he finds peace even though he doesn't know his life plan yet.
Right.
So that to me is also for university students especially, it can be extremely helpful to just be like, okay, it's okay for me to not know the exact plan.
Yeah.
Like you said, for me, it was never like I need to get a job from my degree. I want to do this. I like English. I like literature. I'm gonna and I love the university environment. I'm gonna take the courses, and whatever happens. And I ended up for now doing YouTube. Hopefully I can do it for a long time, but the situation is that it did help me in certain ways, like build discipline and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's not like I needed that to do YouTube, and yet I don't regret it because I think it's awesome. Like I think it's exactly pushed myself and got those degrees, and in a lot of ways, that's more important than materialistic things. Going through those journeys,
100%,
going through those odysseys,
100%.
right? Yeah, exactly, and that's what movies are. Right?
Yeah, and what's great about movies is I wasn't always like this. like, you know, I put on TV, right? I put on a movie. Yeah, thank goodness I didn't always think like this. But once you really start getting into them, you start looking for those themes, right? And you start looking for why this movie resonated with you. And then when you really start looking at them, why do I like this dialogue? Mm-hmm. Oh, it was written by David Fincher, right? Why do I like that shot? Oh, it was, you know, it was lit by Wally Feister or something.
What about the composition?
Yes, like, so
makes you like
what's exciting is the layers of it is just like I will watch a movie where Roger Deakins was the cinematographer. I don't give a shit what it's about. I'm gonna see what he does with it because his movies are stunning. You could freeze a frame and it's a painting, right? So that's another layer to them, right? So for me, I was really getting into the themes of them, why I liked a certain genre as opposed to another, and then I really started getting into why do I really like this guy's movies? That's what happened with Tarantino. I saw Reservoir Dogs and I saw Inglourious Bastards. I saw those are the first two movies I saw with him. I'm like, why do I love these two movies so much? Like, what is it about them? So I Googled, okay, it was written and directed by this guy. Who is this guy? Oh, he has more movies? Let me look at him. What's his background? Oh, he has no actual schooling. He just worked at a video store, which was his schooling, right? And then he just started writing. Right, so then it's a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. And like with Quentin Tarantino, it's interesting how he said he'd even be like he was okay with the video store, but he wanted to try making movies, but he was still enjoying his life at the video store. So yeah, he's a very interesting figure how he writes.
And the sad thing is, sad yes, but he always said he wants to make 10 movies, maybe 11. He says, but he's thinking 10 because again, very pretentiously, he wants people wanting more.
Yeah.
You know, so
how many movies does he have?
The 9th one comes out this month.
Ooh. I mean, I think he won't follow it, to be honest, but I think that's great kind of excitement, hype created because he said that.
He said he likes the idea because it makes him really focus.
Yes.
Like, it has to be good. And he said it always sound like he would write a novel or he would do something else, but we'll see.
He's so good at movies. Yeah, exactly. You want more.
You want more. Yeah, there's nothing like it. It's an experience, and
I think exactly what you're talking about, kind of all the behind the scenes stuff, why you love a story, right? That's the first step. Then you start asking yourself why you love it. What about how the writer writes makes you love it? Peeling the screen back, kind of seeing what's that. I think like that's a lot of what we do for anime on our channel, and I think that would be awesome. Like if you ever decided to, do these kinds of video essays that you kind of see pop up. That would be very interesting. I would be interested in watching that and like learning from the time you took to actually to get to know these movies and why they work the way they do.
Yeah, and that's why we study any art. You know, like even a great painting. Like you don't just look at the painting. You look at why did the author paint it? What was he feeling at the time? You know, why is this a new type of composition? Is this a new type of way that he paints hair? You know, like you start really going deep into anything, like if you really love something, right, you just peel back the layers, which is kind of the point of this channel and the point of this a podcast, right? Deep diving into topics.
For sure. I'm curious because myself, again, I'm trying to be a movie watcher, become more aware of these certain tropes of certain directors, and I know I've asked you this before, but for listeners who are trying to get more into movies, I'm wondering if you had to create a hypothetical syllabus,
or if you're on a deserted island, and you could only take how much did you want?
Okay, but what? Oh, no. My specific question. Sorry. Okay. I got twisted with the deserted island, but that could be another one. Mine was okay. You're like a beginner. You're an amateur movie watcher. What are like, and you don't even have to get into like a deep description of that. What are like, what recommendations would you give to that amateur movie watcher to get them kind of well versed in kind of the canon of movies?
Well, I would say like at least do a movie or two per decade of when movies really started to really pop. Like I would watch Casablanca. I
still need to watch that.
You know, I would watch 12 Angry Men. 12 Angry Men is, if you guys haven't seen it, it's directed by Sidney Lumet, I believe his name was, starring Henry Fonda, and it's about a jury of 12 men The whole movie's shot in one room, going over the case that they just heard.
I watched that.
Right? And what I like about having that as one of the movies is you're literally watching the most stripped down movie you will ever see in your life, of 12 guys all wearing the same outfits. They're all wearing suits in one room. There's just one room and a bathroom, and you don't even hear the trial. You know nothing about it. It's just 12 guys talking, which is, I don't know what's a more bare film than that, and it is riveting.
Yeah, it is a classic.
It's riveting. And then, like, once you watch that one, you can start watching, like, all the big spectacle movies. But I would definitely put that one on the list. The great thing about Scorsese is you could watch his movies. You could watch Taxi Driver, right? Probably the best movie of the 70s, in my opinion. You watch Raging Bull, Goodfellas. Watch Star Wars. Watch the first Star Wars. Watch what...
Not episode 1.
No, not episode 1. Stay far away.
Let's
stay away.
Clear, yes.
Watch A New Hope. Right? See what...
took the world by storm.
Yeah, and try to put yourself in 1977 and see why it did. Even if you don't like the movie. Like, watch it. Sit down and actually try to put your headspace into that. Recent movies, I would say No Country for... I guess recent, but No Country for Old Men by the Coen brothers. Maybe the best movie of the last 10 years. It's unbelievable. What I like to do is look at directors and see what their best movies are rather than what movies to watch. Like, watch a Coen brothers movie, watch a Scorsese, watch The Godfather. Just suck it up.
Nice. You have a lot of faith in directors, and that they're kind of always bring a certain bit of quality to their films.
That's... Great actors can't make a horribly directed movie and a horribly written movie good. It just can't. But a great director can take, mediocre DP, mediocre actors, an okay script, and elevate it. That's how I look at it. An actor... See, people revere acting, which they should. It's unbelievable. But it's such a small part of movies, right? An actor is nothing without a script, without a director telling them what to do, without proper sets. It's the whole... And once you get that whole idea of that a movie isn't just two guys in a room, it's a lot of work behind it to make them sound so good in what they're saying. Just watch the classics, or the classics for a reason. And then to really, people think that to get into movies you have to watch these really boring black and white movies, right? And Citizen Kane, everyone says is the greatest movie ever. It's fantastic, but you don't have to watch Citizen Kane to really say that I'm a movie auteur. You can watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. You can watch Indiana Jones. You can watch, like I said, Star Wars. You could watch Barton Fink or any great Coen movie. Like, you don't have to be intimidated by, I don't know movies because I haven't seen Citizen Kane. I haven't seen Metropolis. Like, you don't have to.
Yeah, I saw that.
Metropolis?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's... I remember when I watched Citizen Kane, I watched it because I felt like I had to. And
I was in a class, yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, this is going to be a slog to get through this. But it's great. And
it's very interesting.
It's great, especially for its time. But I just feel like if you really want to watch movies, a simple search to be like, what are the top 50 movies that people like? And make your own, make your own taste. Find what you like out of those and start thinking why you like them.
I think that's good advice, and that's really how I got into anime. I went on top rated anime, and then I versed myself in that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden I got a sense of what I like. I like slice of life. Oh, I like shonen, and then I kind of expanded into more niche anime, I guess. But yeah, it starts out with usually, why not watch the ones that so many people agree are amazing? Yeah. Do you have anything that you would change in that list? Because I kind of agree with you. It doesn't necessarily matter how much old movies you've watched, as long as you enjoy the movies you are watching, right? And obviously it could be useful to watch some basic ones, but it doesn't mean you can't enjoy movies if you haven't watched everything that influenced them, kind of thing. But is there any ones you'd add for the desert island scenario where you had to pick a specific amount of movies that you like.
Let's
So
give them a
not
number,
even-
though.
Okay.
What's
Make
that?
it- give them a number.
How much can you do? 5 or 10?
Oh, no.
I'll let you pick.
That's a lot. Obviously, I would say Lord of the Rings because
Okay, let's do 10 then.
I'm a nerd. I'll count all 3 as one.
All right. Perfect.
I would do The Big Lebowski. I don't know if you,
Okay,
I showed you The Big
I
Lebowski.
did
I've heard
watch
of
it,
that. Yeah.
Don't say anything bad about it. It's a desert island movie. I would probably say the Goodfellas, Godfather Part 2.
Do you like that more than part 1?
Yes, I think the first one's more rewatchable. The second one is better. I think that's the best way to say it. The first one it's shorter. They're both great, but the first one is definitely more rewatchable. The second one, like,
All right. Excellent.
they're
Excellent.
perfect.
I have to keep track of where we're at. What are we at now? 4?
Yeah, we're at 4.
Okay.
Oh no. I would screw it. It's my list.
Yes.
I'll put Toy Story 3
Okay.
because it's so weird. That movie made me feel like so much, like more than anything else in years, because like you grow up with the toys and you're Andy's age when you watch the first one, and then when you get to Toy Story 3, you're about his age. You're about to start college,
Wow.
university, and I was around that age, right? And that movie is about where do I fit in the world when there's big life changes, right? And what I love about it is like Toy Story 2 asked that question: what happens when Andy's too old and he doesn't want me anymore? And then number 3, he's too old and doesn't want them anymore. And you can see yourself as the toys, you can see yourself as Andy. Anyway, that's just a movie that has a special place in my heart because, yeah, it made me cry in the theater, and every time I watch it, it makes me feel something.
And it's like animated, so that's
Yeah, I gotta put an animated movie there. There's still a list, isn't there?
yeah, that's 5 altogether.
Yeah. I guess I would put The Dark Knight because
Okay, all right.
I have to put a superhero
The
movie there
first one,
somewhere.
right?
Yes, I'd put The Dark Knight because it's Batman and Joker, and I'm a 25-year-old guy, and I know I'll watch that a million times on a desert island. And it's really good. It's really good, and it's a superhero movie that pretends it's not a superhero movie, which I like about it. It's let's try to take this seriously in the real world. So I would put The Dark Knight. These are like desert island movies, so maybe ones that I could watch over and over again.
Yeah,
that's
for
the
sure.
idea, right?
Sure.
What else would I put in? What am I at now? 9?
No, I believe 6. I believe, yeah.
I would.
Just like like movies that affected you, that like you loved, you know.
I'd put Raiders of the Lost Ark because I love
Okay.
Indiana Jones because it's Indiana Jones. It's like the most fun movie to watch. I would probably put in The Empire Strikes Back because it's a great Star Wars movie. And why can't I bring that on a desert island? I'm going to watch it a million times, and it's fun, and it's great characters in it. Yeah, it's great. Don't give me that look because it's Star Wars. I like Star Wars.
Stop giving our
Went through
guests
it.
looks.
What else would I put on that list?
You're only missing 2
I'm
more.
only missing 2 more.
Yeah, so choose carefully.
I'd put Whiplash because Whiplash is
And
More reason to watch.
after you give us the last one, can you guys just let me know kind of some stuff you liked about Whiplash?
I like movies that are really stripped down and you can explain in a sentence.
Okay.
I love that.
Explain it.
Drum student faces off against the meanest drum teacher of all time.
Minas but
Well,
caring.
Yes, it's about like a battle of wits, and is there 5 speaking parts in the movie? Maybe. It's just a drummer who wants something really bad, and this teacher's in his way, but his teacher wants the best out of him too, and
He creates purposeful obstacles.
Uh-huh.
Like
Constant.
even when he's
Very stoic.
doing well, remember he's just like get off the drums.
yeah,
Like it's just
yeah,
like,
he wants him to struggle.
yes.
He
Like-
wants him to struggle.
Like he put in and he thinks like this is like it can't be any better, and he's like just get off the drums right away. It doesn't even give him a chance. So like just that, I really there's that moral of like you're always a work in progress, right? And that's the great lesson of music is that like you can't be like this person is the perfect musician. It's like what does that even mean? Like you know what I mean? There's always ways to improve, and you can never become perfect in music.
Yeah,
Just
and
do it.
and one of the teacher's fundamental theory is that like the worst 2 words in the English language is good job,
Interesting.
because
My brother would like to hear that.
yes, he believes that only like greatness comes out of suffering, and That's the only time where you really shine, is when you're pushed so far into the corner where you have no choice.
That's so fascinating. Like, because me and my brother were just talking about if, let's say, people had support, like, let's say we had a bunch of support for doing YouTube, right? Would we have gotten as far as we have trying to prove people wrong about the initial disbelief that it could be done? So yeah, I think that's a very interesting question. And then morally, it's like, is it right to treat someone that way
in order to get his job?
In order to get a good result.
Yeah, we're not gonna spoil too much.
Yes, but yeah, I mean, there's some repercussions.
Oh man, I gotta watch this. Yeah, because it's not black and white, right? Like, you know, it's easy to say, just all this praise will end up with a good result, but yeah, we have instances where tough love, I guess you could call it, leads to great things.
You know what else I love about it too is that it's an hour and a half, hour 40. You know, it's a quick watch. It's there's not one wasted scene. There's no fluff. I think it does it our other movies. Social Network, definitely.
All right, so that's the 10th one. So
you know what? I think I want to kick out some movie because Social Network is
No, that's the 10th one. That can be the 10th one.
I left out Pulp Fiction.
Oh.
All right, I kick out Star Wars for Pulp Fiction. I would actually.
Right.
But Social Network it's one of my favorite movies. Like, it's a top 10 favorite movie just because I would put on the spot there. I would probably take something out and put Social Network in, definitely. It's my favorite script. I remember I was going to see Jackass 3, and they were sold out. So I'm like, oh, I'll go see the Social Network. I don't want to see a movie about Facebook. For some reason, I did know that it was a David Fincher movie written by, the guy who wrote West Wing? What's his name? I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, it's just the tightest script. It's so well made, like any David Fincher movie is. And it's not really about Facebook, which I like about it. It's kind of about isolation and loneliness.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely isn't just about Facebook,
Yeah, and that's what I like about it is, remember one of the first scenes is Jesse Eisenberg playing Mark Zuckerberg walking outside of Harvard, right? Bustling school. And then that Trent Reznor score comes in, and it's just like a quiet piano. And like instantly you get what it's about. Mm-hmm. You know, all this stuff's going on, but this kid is isolated, he's lonely, he's unsure of himself, and he's kind of in his own world. Mm-hmm. And that movie hooks me every time. And when you think of like the best movies of the 2010s, like, I don't know what's better than The Social Network in my opinion. I cannot believe I can't remember who. He's like the greatest screenwriter right now. He wrote The West Wing. He has got a master class. What's his name? Oh, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, we're not as
we're the end.
It'll
first.
It'll come.
No, that's okay. And yeah, I'm excited to
Aaron Sorkin.
Okay, there we go. Down for the record. I'm excited to actually watch all these movies you recommended and rewatch some of them.
Yes.
Which, because, you know, now that I've started bringing so much more attention to anime, I think I need to go back and watch some of those movies and actually start bringing that kind of attention to the movies themselves. Because I feel like people fall into the trap often where movies, they just view as like pure entertainment or escapism, right? While I feel like there's so many lessons that could benefit you and improve your life while actually watching them.
Absolutely. And the Social Network is a good one too, because I believe the movie is 140 minutes long and the script is 165 pages, something like that. And usually a minute a page. That's usually, you know, most movies are 2 hours, it's a 120-minute script. This is 160 minutes. And the way they cramped it all in was they had the characters talk really fast because they didn't want to take a word out, and just that quick dialogue. And once you start watching Fincher movies, you're going to realize that there's such a polish to them that they can feel almost a little cold. Like there's a little distance to it, that the humanity is not completely in there, when I think there is.
And that works for Mark Zuckerberg, kind of.
It works perfectly. And so Fincher made Fight Club.
Oh, that's really cool.
You know what I mean about Fight Club?
Yeah.
It's a very like calculated, cold, quick cut, perfectly directed. He made Seven. I don't know if you've seen Seven, but
I don't think I have.
It's a psychological thriller. It's a great movie. But anyways, if you watch Fincher movies, like the craft of his work it's not Kubrick. I'm not gonna say it's Kubrick, but that's what all his movies have in common. Directors have movies that there's always something that runs, you know, with them all. Like Tarantino, you have that dialogue. Kubrick, you have the craft. Kubrick could make a movie about anything, whether it's, you know, The Shining or the Space Odyssey. All this, like, all his movies were so different. He never made the same movie twice, but the craft was so good that they united them as, I can tell it's a Kubrick movie. And Fincher's is kind of the same. It's just that level of craft is so high that you're not going to find a movie more well made than his.
Excellent. We got some really good names and recommendations
for
here.
sure.
I love it. What about your blog? You ever think of restarting it, or you want to just give
what's
people
funny?
a shout out to the ones you've written already?
In college, like they made us start a blog, and no one wanted to do it. I'm like, yeah, I would love to, because I can blabber about this all the time. I would like to start it again. Now that my job, I'm going to be writing a little bit more. I'm going to have like the writing itch. Even if it's not good, I just want to write to get thoughts out.
Exactly.
And it was doing okay. Like I was trying to be relevant and write about current movies that are coming out. And I wrote one about why movies matter. Wrote one about when The Revenant came out and everyone was clamoring about how DiCaprio never won an Oscar and he's been nominated 6 or 7 times. And I wrote one saying Roger Deakins has been nominated like 15 times. He's the greatest cinematographer of all time. Like, I'm just saying, like, there's more to movies than just what people think. Yeah. And not that I'm not taking anything away from actors. That was the whole
face of it, right? Because you don't see Martin Scorsese necessarily like shining in the film.
Yeah,
it's behind the scenes.
Right.
So that's a little kind of bias I think people have with actors.
Yes.
It almost like they become friends in a way.
Yes.
Because they see their face so much, they start to associate them with part of their tribe, part of their like network. So it's almost, you can't help that they'll be more attached to that.
For sure. And then when you really start getting into like film, that's what you start peeling back of the onion. We've been saying, it's like, what else? Mm-hmm.
Every time we talk about the onion, I keep thinking about Shrek.
Oh man,
how many are
there?
We should.
There's what, 13 of them now? How many Shreks are there?
There's a Shrek Christmas one.
Yeah, I heard about that. I never watched it though.
No, whenever I saw it,
I really liked the first Shrek though.
Yeah, it's cute. I saw the second one in theaters, I think, as a class trip, and that was the last one I saw.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I just never
appealed to.
No,
yeah, I think it did some of those nice like convention challenging things. Like it was one that got a lot of success doing it, right? And now you have that happening with like a lot of more films, but Shrek kind of got the ball really rolling.
Fairy tale conventions.
Yeah.
But what Pixar, I think their magic too is that if you watch a Pixar movie, there's no pop culture references. There's rarely cell phones. And there's rarely computers shown. Mm-hmm. Every movie is timeless, right? Which you watch some other animated movies or any movie really, and it's quickly outdated. You know, especially Shrek, where there's so many like songs that are current in that time, and there's so many jokes about pop culture in them. That stuff, like you rewatch it now, it's like, oh, okay, that's sort of funny. But like I remember watching Deadpool, first one. I'm not a big comic book movie fan. Like, yeah, I like some of them, but I'm not like a first day I go see them. But I saw the first Deadpool and it was funny, but it was like all pop culture jokes, and I always thought, how will this age? Like, how funny is a Rosie O'Donnell joke going to be in 10 years, right? Which is the thing of Pixar is that it's timeless because they write their own songs, right? Like everything is timeless in them.
That's very interesting that you bring it up, because in a way that's kind of a contemporary approach, right? Trying to make stuff relevant to the day-to-day. But I am seeing more like things like Stranger Things, where it's like before cell phones, taking place. So it's like made now, and yet they do want to give it this sense of not like throwing in, hey, message them on MSN, or hey, do you check out their MySpace? They're kind of like not adding in those references.
And if you if you start watching Spielberg movies, you'll see that Stranger Things is a Spielberg movie, like to a T. They're riding bikes. They got 11 where ET was. Like, that's what that feel was. Like, it's that 80s Spielberg magic of kids and wonderment and amazement and the extraterrestrial. And
I even got a little Freaks and Geeks vibe.
Yeah, little Freaks and Geeks, little Goonies.
It was very, and I'm liking it. I mean, it's insane how big it is.
Yeah, I haven't started the 3rd season yet because I
haven't even finished the 2nd one, but like I'm just blown away by like it's Netflix's biggest thing. Like, out of everything.
And what's interesting about what's going to happen with Netflix is that all these shows are pulling out, so Netflix is going to die, like ride and die by their original programming, which is going to be interesting to see what happens with. Not to make
exactly because Disney Plus is coming out, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that, just because I love some old shows like The Weekenders or having all those Disney classics. Like,
but the Disney Plus has Fox, Marvel, Star Wars, The Simpsons, National Geographic. That's going to take out a lot.
And Disney.
And all the Disney stuff, right? And now you have... The thing with Netflix is that as big as all their shows are, most people are watching The Office, Friends, 70 Show. They're watching non-original content. So Netflix, I wonder how it's gonna survive, because The Office is pulling out because NBC is going to be doing their own streaming service. Friends is gone after this year, so
that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, your Netflix subscription is going to be to watch these Netflix original shows, and they better be good because there's a lot of streaming services coming, and that Disney logo. If you have a kid, they're gonna want Disney.
I want Disney, man.
I want
like
Disney.
Not even kids. Like,
yeah.
And that's the thing, though. Like, some people are like, "Oh, it's gonna be one or the other." Like, to be fair, like I have Amazon Prime.
You're gonna get
I
them
have
all.
Netflix. Yeah. I have Crunchyroll, which is like an anime one. So, like, I don't think it has to be like a fight to the death between them. But you're right. When it starts getting like Hulu, NBC, like all this stuff, you're gonna have to pick and choose. And if I had to pick between Netflix and Disney, I'd probably go with Disney, not gonna lie.
Most people are.
Yeah.
They love their Marvel. They love, and once they get Fox going, they're gonna have X-Men. They're gonna be making Fantastic Four. We're gonna have a low-key original. Yeah, it's never going to stop. They're never going to stop a movie in which a superhero has to overcome an obstacle and fight somebody at the last 10 minutes.
It's the hero's journey also, right?
To save the day.
Like, we're talking about movies, that hero's journey, like the idea of, kind of the call to action, coming back to the beginning, but having all this new knowledge and experience, right? Like finishing school. It's always been like the human experience, right? Struggling, becoming stronger,
Absolutely.
Coming back, bringing a gift, whether it's like visible or not. I think people will always be fascinated with that. No, there's like so many infinite renditions of that.
Yeah, there's always kids that are going to read these comic books and they want to see them on the big screen. So they're always going to make money. It's just going to be interesting because Endgame, which took 20-something movies to get to in 10 years, was the penultimate climax of Marvel, right? Can't get bigger than that. So where do they go from here, and do people still care? Obviously they care because Far From Home is making a lot of money, but...
And it's humor. I like the humor, unlike DC, like a lot of DC films. The humor in Marvel, I appreciate. I really do.
Yeah, they're comedies. They're comedies, really. And sort of those more serious ones, but they know what they're doing. It just, when is it going to stop?
Did it pass Titanic? Do you know?
No, it didn't. They re-released it
to
see if they'd get more money, and I think it pissed off a lot of people. But it didn't make that much more money than they thought it would.
Like, that would be not even Titanic. Avatar.
Yeah.
Avatar is the one.
It passed Titanic.
And Avatar's coming 2 is coming out soon, right?
There's apparently 4 sequels in the works.
Wow.
And it's been
that's crazy.
And it's been delayed and delayed and delayed to now where, does anyone care? Avatar came out 10 years ago. It's gonna be interesting how those movies go because they keep getting delayed, and 4 sequels.
Do you know why? Like, is it because James Cameron is particular? Or
maybe because they're doing 4 movies back to back to back, and all the CGI that they have to do.
I mean, yeah, that's gonna be huge, man.
The one thing, like, what I don't like about it, because James Cameron, like, great filmmaker, but is he gonna be doing Avatar the rest of his life? This is it. He's gonna dedicate the rest of his life to.
Well, is he? How old is he?
I don't know, but
because if he finishes these 4 movies, right?
But the pace he's working on, like,
yeah,
he's got to be in his 60s. That's another one too. Like, to watch like old James Cameron movies. Like, a lot of people hear James Cameron think of Avatar, Titanic.
And Titanic.
Titanic's great. Like, they're fun movies. Titanic's great, and Avatar is whatever. But watch his old stuff. Watch The Abyss. Watch the first Terminator. Watch Aliens. Like, the guy is a master science fiction director, and to see what he could do with no money, it's awesome. Like,
yeah, for sure. That's one we haven't covered, but that's awesome. And I mean, we could talk more, but we should probably
too long.
Yeah, we should probably
get. I actually appreciate how you started talking about shows, because I for sure in the future want to have one about TV shows.
For sure.
And we could definitely, if you're interested, have you back on.
And we could always do like more renditions of like specific movie topics.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be just like
it never ends.
One movie.
It never ends.
For sure. Anyways, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Giacomo.
This was great.
This was awesome, and we'll see you all next time.